name is Barry Friedman, and I was born and raised in Norfolk and Virginia Beach, Virginia, and I'm a graduate of Princess Anne High School and Old Dominion University.
Very cool, very cool. You know, our father-in-law, Jim Sweeney, he taught over there. He was the history department over there,
wow.
and he had recently retired, and so both of our kids, and including my wife, all attended over there to you.
Nice.
They're interested, you know, we'll see how that goes. So most of them, foremost, we appreciate you having us in here and getting a chance to look through the store and seeing what's going on. Being introduced to the store, I hate to say shamefully, the first time last month, I was blown away. But the thing is, I'm from Portsmouth, and I don't really get out to Virginia Beach often. That's my main excuse, you know. But
Understood.
When I found out you guys had started in Norfolk, that even blew my mind even more. So really that led to how long has Birdland Music been around, and how did it come about?
My father opened and started Birdland Music in May of July of 1969, and he took over the store. We were on the corner of Church and Pawnee Road in Norfolk, and our store was in the heart of the African American neighborhood, and our clientele was soul, R&B, jazz, gospel. That's what we sold. We sold LPs, 45s, 8-track tapes. We had a very thriving business till the city of Norfolk decided that redevelopment was going to take over Church Street, and not owning the building, none of the tenants did. We all rented. We were all out on the street, and so at least we had a window to figure out what we were going to do. And so in 1978, in May of '78, we moved to Kempsville, and I watched the shopping center being built, and my brother Brian said, hey, they're building a shopping center in Kempsville. You might want to go take a look and see what you think. Came out here and said, wow, this looks like maybe this will work, not having no clue. So we took a chance, and we came here, and we opened up, and we thought people would pile in here, and guess what? We had little or no customers the first year. People did not know the shopping center, much less there was a record shop here. Kempsville Road was still 2 lanes. There was no development after Indian River Road. The parking lot wasn't paved. We were a secret for many, many years. And we're still a secret to a lot of people that don't live in Virginia Beach or don't live in Kempsville. And a lot of people that grew up here just assume we went out of business too, because it's been so long. But we're here. We survived COVID. We survived the big boxes, and people are still coming in, and we're very lucky and fortunate that we're here. And I don't know if I'd say we're thriving. We are surviving, but we're okay. And people are still buying music. There are people, believe it or not, that want to buy and own music, and whether it's vinyl or CDs, we're selling turntables. And that's our story in a nutshell.
Yeah, we've seen a huge rise in vinyl come back onto the market. Whether it's even the DIY labels that have started off and they were small, they still have thrived, and the same passion for the quality and the novelty somewhat. You can't beat sitting down and hearing that hiss and pop of an old used record. That's where I refer to like some of the old records that I inherited from my great-grandparents and grandparents, that I don't need a new digital copy of it for some of the reasons that I still want to experience that same crack and pop skip that they experienced probably the last time they listened to that record.
Well,
So
it's a totally different experience between listening to a CD and a vinyl. I'm not putting down the CD, but the vinyl, when you put it on, you literally have to get in the moment. Get up, you put the record on, you clean it, you flip it over, you clean it again, you sit with the cover.
the cover and inserts were best. You could read the story.
The liner notes, and you learn about who the artist is, who plays with them, who produced it. At least I do. Who wrote the songs. It's a more personal. It's more a possession and ownership than a CD. So yeah, it's definitely a different experience. The biggest downside is I can't play my records in my car.
Yeah.
So,
I saw some fails of the Corvairs that had record players in those. But in general, I mean, there is the nice fact that the CD has it's still able to be flawed and damaged over time, but the digital imprint of the music is the best quality as far as you can say compared to a WAV or a FLAC file. But when you get into that warmth, the tone, you just really start relying on the driver and pieces that make the whole sound come together. And it comes down to the needle, you know. And it seems like there was an era where there was a lot of focus on the difference of needles, speed of the motors, control, that made the sound of the record better and better. So even now I look for adjustable power on my record players, but you know, the Sony has 2 presets. It's like, but the passion for vinyl is there, and I think it's still going to be there, and I think that you're always going to have a place with, and that's always going to be a great spot. And now that we get to share a little bit more that there's a location in Virginia Beach, I think that people would be even, because of the fact that I haven't recalled of anything in a while that's been around here as far as like music stores. I mean, as the kids, we were growing up in the punk and the hardcore scene. We knew about Volume and some of the other people that had been around. Yeah,
there.
But the thing is, like, when I came in here, I was almost, like I said, embarrassed because the fact that I hadn't been here. But the King's Head note, the small little tokens, the choice,
gone.
The vinyl that you had right on the face, you know, the Gap band vinyl that I picked up from here, the Madness T-shirt. This is a staple, man. This is really something great. I want to see other people share the same joy.
Well, this is a music store. We're not a niche. We cater to everybody and to anything. I'm not in a little box like this that we're known for this. I try to have as broad a selection, and I like to think that I have what you're looking for, but if I don't have it in the store, I'm going to do everything I can to track it down for you to get it.
That's good. That was one of the questions I was going to ask. So you still do the custom order? If
Oh,
absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. So, how important are politics and music now? I don't know if it's a bad subject, but how important are politics and music now versus what you saw throughout the 70s to the 80s? Do you see that politics still make an impact in music or a backbone of writing, or does it really not really have to involve politics to be appreciated?
I don't think it has to involve politics personally. I've found because of the political climate, my politics are a certain way, but you can't talk politics in a public place because you're going to upset somebody and offend somebody.
I agree.
So personally, I understand it and I lean a certain way, but I don't share it because I want everybody to feel like this is a level playing field. If that's what your thing is, go for it. When I go to hear a band, I want to hear them play. I don't want to be preached to. Even though more than likely if I go see you, I totally agree with your politics. I got it, that's why I'm there. But I don't need to be told, you know, the whole 2 hours. I just paid $100 for a ticket. Play the music.
Yeah, I want to hear that bass and drummer sync up.
But politics is definitely, you know, in the writing, it's coming out again. There's no question about it. But the artist has a responsibility, and they got to be careful.
I think when the pissed off youth, that's where when they start having something to say, when they're screaming the same message over and over, I don't see the distinction about the sound. That's where you really start falling back to where's the musical talent in this.
Right.
And that's when, most of the time I can even say this, with the genres, noisecore, grindcore, and all these things, I couldn't understand a single lyric through the album, but I started appreciating the music more. And if the music isn't there, then there is no point. And you know, hearing white noise the whole time, I could turn on my hairdryer and I could be just as entertained. But also about this, there may be some chop up. I'm not going to use all of it, but the actual interview with you, I can appreciate more. So we'll cut out some of the things that I'm like that one about. Getting back off the serious subject, because I don't like discussing religion or politics either. I keep it out of my studio.
I love talking about it, but I realized in the MAGA era, I have to be careful of
Absolutely.
going any way because I don't want to upset anybody. So in here, we keep it unless you have people here and you know your audience.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand that. Yeah.
It's a shame it's gotten to that.
I tell people I'm not on the fence. I'm putting nails in the fence. And it's like, because I won't go either.
All right, no, go for it. Go for it. But you got to know your audience.
So back when people were making, and you've seen the evolution of music, I'm sure, like even from where some of the peak years of Motown, going into when it transitioned from funk into Parliament Funkadelics, and seeing that transition of music, did you see how was that music received in like Norfolk and Virginia Beach area? I'm interested in Norfolk, and how did they receive Parliament and in comparison with like where like Motown had left off?
Oh, it was a natural progression.
Yeah.
It was party music, it was funk, it was a show, they were saying something, it was the whole package. It was the whole package. And people were looking for something new and fresh. And disco came in, and disco kind of ruined Motown. So Parliament took a little bit of the disco and a lot of the funk, and maybe a little bit of the Motown, because George Clinton grew up in that era, and he made a whole new thing. But along with that, he made it show business.
Yeah.
It was a
entertainment.
Right, but they were the real deal. I mean, they could play. Eddie Hazel was a monster on the
horns
guitar.
were great. The horns on section were great. Everything that they
great.
incorporated into it was something special. And we had recently discovered a TV show that spotlighted Bootsy and his transition from James to George to D-Light.
Sure. There's an evolution to all of it, and there's young bands coming out now. I'm trying to think of somebody, but that are still doing that. But is there a commercial outlet for that? Unfortunately, there's not.
Just like we had seen, I think the most recent contract Bootsy picked up was with Bruno Mars. And I was like, wow, so he's one spokesperson in general for bass, funk, groove that's just been around for years.
I think Bruno's great.
Yep.
I think he's got a platform and an audience now. He wasn't overnight, but I think because of how he got to where he is, he sells a boatload of music now. I think you're going to see him kick the door open more and more and bring along more musicians and more different sounds with him.
The big band sound is coming back on.
Instruments. People want to see somebody playing an instrument.
Black Keys were very successful. But the more we see people picking up and realizing that it's not just your voice anymore, you really have that ability. Try.
Auto-tune. I remember my son Ethan, when he was in the high school, he was a big Black Eyed Peas fan. They were happening. And he loved the Black Eyed Peas. And they played the Super Bowl one year, and he's watching them on the Super Bowl at halftime, and he realizes they're not playing. They were lip syncing. Well, they might have been singing, but it was all canned. And he said, "Dad, they're not really playing up there." And all of a sudden, he kind of like saw the light, and he wasn't the fan that he was. He wanted to see somebody playing an instrument.
Like Prince killing the Super Bowl.
Prince killed it.
He killed it. It started raining during his solo.
He kept playing. He could have gotten.
Yeah, but I mean, just in general, that was beautiful.
That's right. I mean, so I understand it, because people want it to be perfect. They want it to sound like the records, but it was so obvious till maybe he was 13 or 14 years old. They were not up there playing and really singing. They were probably,
It reminds me of early bandstand years of seeing no cables plugged in the guitars, and it's like,
exactly.
Oh, God.
How do they do that? How do they sound so good?
Yeah.
But you want it to sound like you remember.
Yeah, and I remember AC/DC, one of their appearances, they refused to sync up properly, and that was pretty funny. Same with Creedence, they refused to sync their instruments. And they said, wait a minute, you want us to use a tub wash bass? And this is just ridiculous. Put on these overalls, you're making our whole image.
Right.
But that's the thing, though. There is the production part of it, where the company side says, you know what, we've invested in this, change your image, and we can make a better product out of you.
Because we got to sell it.
You got to sell it. No matter how talented you are, sometimes if you don't have something that just grabs the eye, unfortunately, you may not ever be noticed. But then there are some people that are the worst players, and they're nothing but a showboater. And it's like, I think it can be discouraging, but more importantly, again, if you don't try, you don't know.
Right. Put it out there, and people will tell you.
Yeah, people definitely feedback on you, but you gotta. I think a lot of times as an artist, we have to accept the negative feedback and positive. And I think the negative feedback, whether how minimal and how scarce it is, it still can scar an artist really bad.
It can scar, but it can also help them because nobody wants to be told all the time, "You're great, you're great." Then you're going to start to believe it.
Yeah, you need a guardrail.
You need a guardrail, and you need to be hungry. I really think you do. I just know that in business here. I'm always hungry. Whenever anybody, just to go off a little bit, whenever anybody buys anything in here, if I don't know what it is, I'm not afraid to ask somebody, "What do you get and why are you buying this? Tell me about this." That's how I learn.
So in that, the people bring in new stories and experiences. What are some of the craziest experiences that you ever had at the Norfolk store? I mean, I'm sure you had something pop off here or there, and I'm sure you had things pop off in the Virginia Beach store as well.
You know, I have such good memories of.
Yeah, nothing negative. It could be positive either.
No.
Surprise guest.
You know, I was 16, 17 years old, and I was this skinnier than I am now, white kid with hair down to here, and I was selling Barry White and Temptations and James Brown records, and I was selling gospel music, and I was selling jazz, and I could walk the walk and talk the talk because that was our business, so I had to learn it. And so I would have African American customers come in there and like, "Who's this punk kid? What's," you know, but after they met me a couple times, they knew I did know and I did care. So that was totally the positive. Out here, it's just trying to appeal to everybody. Have a little bit of everything, and knowing what everything is.
Yeah, diversity is definitely more throughout, let's say, throughout Virginia Beach, especially with the tourism that we have come through here. People come here, whether they're even in the military, they decide, you know, this is, at least they have 3 seasons, I'll stay here. You know?
Right. And now the summer season is starting to kick in now with tourists. I'm starting to see tourists come in, and this is one of the pluses of the world we're in. 20 years ago, tourists at the oceanfront, they would never have come over here. They had no clue there was a music store here, but now it's a rainy day, they Google, record shops in the area, music stores. Oh, there's a store in Kempsville. Let's go check it out.
Yeah.
So that's different world.
That is the thing that, like you said, 20 years ago, but even now, 40 years ago, vinyl has been and it still is around. It's relevant. It's still going to be a staple, especially with this location.
So when we first started selling vinyl 15, 16 years ago, we had this many records. They were a couple of bucks. A lot of them were just things that were left over from the 80s and 90s we couldn't get rid of. We might have accumulated a few things, but we literally had this many records. And high school kids would come in and they would buy the craziest looking covers. I mean, just crazy stuff. And on one hand, I was glad to get it out the door, but on the other hand, I'm like, what are you buying? Do you have any clue what you're getting? And the answer I usually got was, no, none whatsoever. We're buying it for the cover.
Yeah.
They want the cover art.
The cover art was
So what happened is that eventually evolved in, well, wait a minute. My parents have a turntable. They've got old Ramones and punk and Stevie Wonder. Like, maybe I should start playing it. Then they start coming here looking for those groups that are in their parents' collection, and it just kind of ran from there, and that's where we got to where we're at.
I can appreciate that. We've got 3 generations of Talking Heads records. It's the same record from 3 generations: great grandparent, grandparent, and parent. You know, so. Well, I do appreciate. What time is on the? How much time is on it?
22.
22. Good. So.
If I can make a plug.
What's that?
The Talking Heads Stop Making Sense is coming out this summer on vinyl.
That's awesome.
180 gram. And so I know I'm excited, but it just goes to show you they're trying to fill the niche. And that's a great record to have in your collection. That'll be on the shelves everywhere in the next few weeks.
Absolutely. That's really cool. Yeah. Well, we want to see more and more of the bands go back to vinyl that have been off there for a while. You know, it's even now, like, we do see a lot of the punk bands and everything that are going into the vinyl, what they're actually putting out, but it's whether or not whether or not it's going to be the longevity of their businesses, no names mentioned, but a lot of these small record companies are still coming back up, and they want to be based on just vinyl. They don't want to do the CDs. They don't want to do the digital even. And that's I can appreciate the wanting to keep it raw as much as they want to, as or they may refer to it as, but
it's still a business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You got to pay your bills.
Mm-hmm. And that's where I worry. You know, I want to see enough of the community get back into these smaller businesses to where they'll thrive and have an incentive to stay alive, to keep doing these things. But for a lot of these young businesses that are starting in stores, whether it's record, CDs, do you have any tips or advice to them over the long term? Because you've endured. This business has been here.
First thing I tell anybody that, you know, whether you want to open a bar or open a record store, it's a business. It's not a party, and it's retail. So it's 6 or 7 days a week. You better have a passion, and you better have a game plan. You're not going to go in there and wing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of hard work, and it doesn't get easier. I can say with vinyl, it's gotten fun again.
Cool.
There was a period of in the last few years where it wasn't necessarily fun to be in here every day, because we didn't have, you know, lots and lots of customers. But with the vinyl coming back and a lot of the big boxes really kind of getting out of music a bit, I'm seeing people come back in, and so now it's fun for me to come in here every day. Not every day, but most days.
Yeah,
most
and then,
days.
I don't
But
think
it's
anybody
retail. But it's still retail. It's still, you know, it's a long day. You're on your feet, so know what you're getting into.
Yeah, and that's what I tell people sometimes too, and even myself. If I go into a larger company, I might be a little shorter with the bad attitudes. But if I go into a small business of any type and I understand immediately, it's like a person's running that place. Like you said, like I ever heard you saying before, you know, whether it's sweeping, trash, we are the do-it-all. Anytime you're a small business owner, you don't wait for somebody to do something that needs to be done. You have to step in.
I also...
It's all good. Could you...
I also realized that, like the other day, when you walked in my door, you didn't have to come in here. You came in here because you wanted to. So if I can't be nice to everybody that comes in here, what am I doing in business? I didn't put a gun to somebody's head and say, you got to go in there and look. So I try, I don't know if I'm always successful, but I try to be nice to everybody and helpful. And you know, you may buy something, you may not, but if you don't buy something, maybe you'll come back the next time. If I'm short or snarly or not nice or helpful, you're not gonna come back.
Yeah.
So I try to be that person.
Yeah, we all try to be well,
I think we do.
I think we all try to be better people for the most part, but as anybody, as any dog, if you kick me, I'm probably gonna bite you.
Of course. Next door.
I was going to say, that's really weird that we just said that in the barking. So, one of my biggest and ultimate questions on Sunday mornings, I know what I'm listening to. I get up every Sunday and my kid pretty much can expect what she's going to hear. What do you put on Sunday when you are at home by yourself?
That is jazz day.
Yep.
I'm reading, I sing on the back porch with my wife. We listen to jazz. Old school, whether it's Miles Davis, Oscar Peterson, Charlie Bird. I'll listen to a little bit of vocals in the morning, but if you're reading the paper, it's tough to listen to vocals. But that's the jazz day at our house.
Very cool, yeah.
And I can share that with my wife, because my wife loves jazz.
That's very good, yeah. I think my era is the two-tone. I get up and immediately go to Madness, Bad Manners, the Specials, the Selector.
If it was me by myself, no, that would be me, or the Beatles or the Stones are my favorites.
Yeah, Abbey Road.
If you're having a nice, quiet, no, it's a jazz one.
Yeah, that's very good. It's always time. Well, it was very good to talk with you, and I appreciate the time going through it all.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.